Thank you so much for listening to another episode of CX Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Brady-Cesana. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of the CX Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Brady-Cesana. Super excited for today's show, guys. We have an awesome guest on, Michele Shane, SVP of Business Development at Ujet CX. Say hello to the CX Nation.
Hey guys, great to be with you today.
So, Michele, I was pumped to have you on. I really enjoyed our conversations leading up to today's recording. Super cool story, super cool business, and then let's just say you're talking to the right crowd, right? We've got a bunch of awesome customer focused business leaders that are thinking about all the different ways that they can think about not just their customer experience but their employee experience. So I was pumped. I was pumped to get you on the show today, and I was definitely pumped to have you kind of tell not only your story but the Ujet story.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I'm a super nerd when it comes to CX, so happy to talk with you.
Michele, you're my favorite type of people. Be right here. So, all right, let's start. Let's start off how we start off all these episodes. Why don't you take a couple minutes just to set the stage around number one? How did you get into this space? How did you get into this place? And then, more importantly, how did you end up in the seat that you're sitting today, helping to lead the team at Ujet CX?
Oh gosh. Well, I think we all grow up hoping and praying that we wind up in contact center, right? So that's exactly
Literally,
what I did.
those were all my dreams last night, Michele.
Yeah.
Just leading contact centers.
Same. No, but so completely by accident, right? Like I think most of us, but then it was really I find it really interesting to be honest at this point, and so kind of stuck with it. But I really started gosh, about 20 years ago at a very small contact center. It was a startup before startups were cool. And the founders were building a call center in New Jersey, of all places. So I I got a job there answering calls, emails, and the whole premise of what we were building was really kind of big brands, but a small need. So some of our first customers, our clients were, Calvin Klein, Bacardi, Mucinex, Kashi. So brands that very well known, but really needed 2 seats, 10 seats, 15 seats. And really that was a hard market to serve for BPOs because you don't get the economy of scale, and it's a hard business to run. But
Yep.
what we did, we hired great people, and because I was like the number 4 employee there, I got to do a little bit of everything. So as our company grew, I built out new teams, got to meet new people, take on new business, and I had really, really awesome mentors there. So they really, I feel like it kind of guided me throughout the early part of my career. I also got involved in a lot of, professional organizations, SOCAP being one of them, and ended up leading the New York chapter.
That's awesome. Wait,
Yeah,
tell me
it
more
was
about that.
great.
Because in a city like New York and in a market like New York, New Jersey, and the tri-state, and Michele, I was telling you, I was there for almost 10 years earlier in my career, but like that must have been a cool group of people. There's a lot of fun companies in the tri-state that probably wanted to get involved in that type of an organization.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have a great group there. So CAP is still going strong today. Actually, we just last month did I think it's our 25th annual Yankees game. So we would do
Oh,
fun events.
nice.
It's
That's
a mix
awesome.
of networking and learning, right? So the Yankees game is obviously a little more on the networking side, but you get to meet really great people, hang out with them. We do a big tailgate. It's 150 people
Wow.
that end up going to
But
that
by the way,
game.
Yankees did good last night. The Yankees did good last night. They beat the Twins last night. I was actually watching some of that, and
Yeah.
still a big Yankees fan, Michele.
Oh, awesome. Well, the good. We can continue this conversation.
We'll keep this recording going.
Yeah. Well, this Yankee game that we were just at for SoCap was actually the Boston Red Sox and Yankees game. So it was a big rivalry. Unfortunately, we didn't do so well that night, but I think it was because I shaded out a little early. So
Oh no,
I will
Michele,
own that. I will own that.
Michele, you got
Yeah.
to stay till the end. You got to stay till the end.
I know. I left right before it really started going south. But in any event, that organization also opened me up both personally and professionally to, again, a lot of different organizations, how others use technology and all of that to kind of further their brands and what they were doing with customer experience. So it was really interesting. And that's actually how I ended up coming to Ujet, was through someone that I had known um, through SoCap, was at Zendesk and was talking to our now CEO, Vasily Chayant, about building out his new team. He had just joined Ujet, and I got a call, and he was just relentless and thought I was a great fit. So I took the leap, and I came over to Ujet about 5 years ago.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Wait, so really quick, number one, before we jump into all the fun stuff with Ujet, a couple of things I just want to call out right away that you already threw out to us is number one, just like, similar to you, Michelle, I early in my career, I got to build a bunch of startup companies and, venture capital backed growth companies. And I think, when I hear you talk about your time at Premier Response and wearing multiple hats and having to do literally everything, whether you wanted to or, thought you could or whatever, man, that I don't know about you, but like, that's a game changer for me anyway. Like a big part of sort of what we do now with my team at CXC and all of our clients and our partners. And then, frankly, as I get deeper into my career, it seeing how multiple companies were building their customer-facing team, seeing how multiple companies were spending or investing in their tech stack, seeing how multiple different companies were thinking about how the hell are we going to process all this shit, and then especially in your type of world, where like, probably, and I know we're going to get into it later, but like that's a whole part of writing the playbook, or how well you can write the playbook is essentially how well you can deliver some of these customer experiences for your clients. But that must have been just amazing. It must have been really, really huge, and it must have just been an incredible way to kind of start off this whole journey in customer experience, customer contact for you.
Yeah, I mean, you have to love doing that, though, I will say. And I do. I love rolling up my sleeves. I love, kind of getting in the weeds on things, but then also being able to be really strategic at times. So it's a different world when you are a startup because, like you said, you wear a lot of hats and you wear them often at the same time. So, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody. And in fact, I've had a lot of good learnings over the past 5 years, even with hiring people in and building out teams, that these were awesome people, but not a fit for a startup, right? So, you really have to love that role and love that environment because it's a fail fast, let's go,
100%.
hustle,
All hands on deck. It doesn't matter
yeah.
who's. You're going to appreciate really quick story. You'll appreciate this being a New York lady. One of the companies that I helped to build in New York. This is almost 15 years ago. A company was called H Bloom. We were a floral subscription company. Talk about having to have a certain type of fabric of person to do this stuff. Michelle, I used to get up and go from my 83rd and 2nd Upper East Side apartment down to the Flatiron District, specifically 22nd in between 5th and 6th Avenue on Mondays at 5 in the morning, because how do you deliver to New York City? You got to deliver before everybody's up and out and in the places. So like we would literally deliver almost 60 to 70% of our weekly floral on Monday morning between the hours of 5 o'clock. Really, some of our drivers showed up there at 3 o'clock, but between 3 o'clock in the morning and 8:30, so that before people got to Monday's office and they were walking into the buildings, all that stuff was already there. So like, and I remember telling some of my friends that like, oh shit, I can't do anything Sunday. We got to be up early tomorrow. They're like, what do you mean? Like and so you're right. It's a different type of person, but that shit's fun. And looking back, did it suck at the time? Yeah. Was there some awesome days, fun days? Yeah. But it really does teach you so much about not just the CX side of like what it takes to deliver an awesome experience, but then I'm thinking about some of the guys and gals I had to work with, and I was there at our floral studio with on 22nd Street at 5 in the morning,
Yeah.
getting this. So that on the EX side too, you start to see what you just said, where like certain cuts and cloths of people that are going to be able to do certain jobs really, really well. So I love that. I love that you're calling that out.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome. I think I do think that's a requirement actually. You have to be an early riser to be in a startup business, no matter what. Because
100%
you're gonna
true.
have to
Yep.
deliver something, you're gonna have to hop on a call, you're gonna have to put out a fire. It's a around the clock job for sure.
Always. Tell me about you, Jet. I'd love for you to let's start off with first pillar of team. Why don't you spend a couple minutes just kind of talking about the team that you and the team have built at UJet, and maybe talk about some of the different types of roles and different departments in the teams and the way that you guys have sort of laid out the pitch internally on the employee side and on the team side to build UJet.
Yeah, so when I first joined Ujet, I was brought on to build out the strategic alliances group. That didn't exist when I got here. So it was kind of ground zero, and we were really starting from scratch. There was really nothing at all. We had the channel, but this was different. These were building different types of partnerships. It was, finding, technology partners that complemented our solution. It was finding partners that wanted to implement our solution or implemented or sold complementary solutions, right? So there was really no playbook, there was no rules, and we kind of just built it from the ground up.
Who
And
were
a
some of
lot of
the early partners, Michelle, or can you give us a sense for, or give us an example of what some of the early partners looked like to kind of kick this off and get it started?
Yeah, so UJet, one of the core tenets of UJet is that we are privacy by design and have a seamless real-time integration with CRM. So all of our earliest partners are really CRM companies. So Zendesk, Customer, Salesforce. We now partner with like a HubSpot and ServiceNow and many others where we have just out-of-the-box integrations with those partners. So it was
Love
partially
it.
a
Love it.
technology that we were kind of co-building so that it was
Sure, sure,
friendly
sure.
for our end customer, but then there was also a whole go-to-market motion that we were also building out. And within some of those partnerships, some were, hey, all about it, and we jived really well as organizations, and some not so much, and that's okay too. But it was a way for us to not only expand our go-to-market, but expand our capabilities.
What the comment you just made? So the clients in the company or the customers that jived well and things were good.
Mhm.
What was the difference between some of those versus some of the ones where you didn't have that chemistry, you didn't have that romance out of the gate? So just out of curiosity, what were some of the common challenges, themes, obstacles? Was it industry types? Was it certain technology types that were maybe harder than others to implement, and not just to implement, but to like get really good at utilization, which you and I were joking about the other day. That's a big part of our game is like, you want to see the ROI and you want to see the bang for your buck on your tech stack. How well does your company utilize what you've built and what you put in front of them? But like, what were some of the things that like worked and didn't work in those early days?
So I will say technology in and of itself has never been the thing that made a partnership meh or not work or not worth it, right? It's never been the technology. It's really been about the organization itself or the people that are in, that I would be personally working with kind of more
Interesting.
one-on-one.
Interesting.
And because where there's a will, there's a way, right? So if you
Absolutely.
want to make
Absolutely.
something work, like
Yep.
all that, the technology is almost easy because once you have a vision and you can articulate it, you can get, product and engineering teams on board. You can allocate the resources,
Totally.
anything is possible. And we are a cloud native solution. We're a very modern tech stack. So there's no legacy, anything that we're dealing with. So it's really easy for us to work from a technology standpoint with other organizations. Where I think the success and the sweet spot really is finding an organization or a group that is just as hungry as you are, that gets
Yeah.
just as excited about something. Whether that's a very general, hey, like we have a kind of a general integration that's very common, but we're excited about this go-to-market better together story we want to build, or you kind of are really inspired and want to create a niche, more kind of customized offering that really
Yeah.
services more of a very specific, whether it's industry or problem, and people get excited about that. And once you have that, the magic is there, and you can kind of do anything.
So well said. With the work that we have the fortune of doing with our clients at CXC, it's the same thing. If you have extremely excited, engaged, ready to roll up sleeves and rock and roll, and then let's say it another way, they're going to be your internal navigators for finding the resources, finding the people that are needed internally to make this shit work really well.
Right.
They're already ready to rock and roll with getting the knowledge, the education, and some of the coaching to go teach their teams how to do the like. Those are some of the engagements and the client partnerships where like you can get some stuff done really fast. You can take huge chunks, huge leaps. And then frankly, I got to be honest with you, in my journey, I'm sure you've seen the exact same thing. Those those occasions where you can kind of like shoot out of the rocket or shoot out of the cannon, those are the ones where it's easy to build momentum. And then frankly, it's also easy then to get a little bit of early on in those first 30 days. If you can, with your project champion and your project team, you could show some big wins, or you could show even that, like you just said, the roadmap. Okay, here's all the things that we need, and then here's going to be all the building blocks or the CTAs required. Man, that's how you get the executive team excited early. And if you can get the executive team and the executive sponsor excited early, it's just easier to keep chopping wood and pushing things forward month over month over month. And that's where a true strategic partnership between client and partner really begins to form. I love it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I also want to say I feel like I'm very fortunate here at Ujet because we do have that type of philosophy as an organization, really from the top down, where it's let's just go get it done, ask for forgiveness, not permission. And so I feel very
Yep.
empowered all the time to be able to go out and just kind of break down walls and say, oops, okay, that didn't work so well, but it's okay, because I think we'd rather just have some action and some momentum and some movement to know, okay, that's not going to work. Let's go this way. Or this does work. Let's go faster, harder, and get everyone going this way. And I think that's been a big part of why we've been able to scale and be, so successful over the past few years.
That's amazing. Michele, before we jump off the team, you've been there now for 5 years. What has been like one or two big, just general observations, or what have been one or two big learning lessons for you over these last 5 years, watching UJet, number one, grow tremendously, right? The team has gotten much, much larger over the last 5 years. Number two, you got to see some of those early days when you guys were figuring out product market fit, and what's going to work, and what are clients going to want, and what partners do we even think about spending our time. What has been like the one or two things that you've learned about watching this team grow that you number one will take forward with you like in your career, and then number two that can help our listeners that are founders and leaders of tomorrow's leading companies.
Yeah, I would say it's really not about kind of the all the mechanics of how you maybe build out a team or how you take a SaaS company to 100 million. It's really more about how do you get started and follow through. And for me, my personal playbook now is really around defining that clear goal and that end vision first and foremost, because I think without that and understanding where you're going, you don't know how to get there, right? So,
Yep.
what's that from Alice in Wonderland? I think there's a quote. I feel like I say this to my kids all the time, which is, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, right? So I think you need to have kind of a clear vision, because the paths are going to change, but you're not going to know which way to go based, when I first started, everyone was the big conversation we would have with our customers was getting them over the hurdle of thinking about cloud. They're so used to on-prem. It was a
Sure.
cloud
Sure.
conversation.
Yep.
Now, not so much. It's an AI conversation, right? So it's, the things will change, the resistance will change, the technology will change, but as long as you kind of are centered in where you're going and what your goals are, both personal, your personal charter and your company charter, I think that's where it all kind of begins. And then it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's just get started. Just, the biggest hurdle is really the first step, because everyone is very afraid to fail or make a mistake. And there's anything I've learned, there's really no such thing as a mistake. There's learning opportunities, and then there's kind of the endless kind of success that you can see both personally, professionally, and even in terms of company growth once you make that first step. But you can't be afraid to go. And it's funny enough, it's kind of a common thing that we talk to our customers and prospects about is like, it doesn't have to actually be so scary, especially when we talk about things like AI.
Yeah. Right. Right.
We could just do something very small, but let's be very clear about what we're trying to do. That's the worst mistake you can make, right? Trying to implement a technology, a process, a team without understanding that end goal. I mean, I just can't emphasize enough how, for me personally, that's been just, number one.
I couldn't agree more. You know, it's funny you're saying this. We literally recently we had Adam Coffey on the podcast. Who Adam, for those of you who don't know, he's the author of the Private Equity Playbook series, and the guy has bought and sold 58 companies, billions of dollars of value, all the stuff. Michele, his one of the biggest things that he talked about that I have absolutely, since I met Adam a while back, I absolutely have stolen. So I love that you've already had this. But Adam talks about he was former like Navy pilot type of, you know, grew up in coming up in the military. No pilot will ever even turn the airplane on
Hmm.
until they literally, not only do they know exactly where they're going, but then they have the correlative flight plan to where it is. So said another way, they're not going to turn the airplane on to go from Buffalo to Tampa unless they know exactly, like, you know, when they're going to get there, which airport they're going to, what the flight plan is that relates to what all the other variables of getting from Buffalo to Florida that day. And so that's number one, just having a plan and having a target. And guys, this is funny. It's amazing how many people don't think about the simplicity of just common goal setting or having targets, having bullseyes and targets, right? So that's number one. I absolutely love that. Any team can really just get much further ahead with that. And then the second thing you just said, I love, just take the damn action. Um, there's dreamers and there's doers. You know, and I mean that respectfully, because don't get me wrong. I mean, there is a ton of value in some of our teammates that are strategic, creative thinkers that can come up with all this, you know, wild stuff. But there's dreaming and there's thinking about stuff, and then there's just fucking going and doing stuff. And the doing stuff is, and then I could not agree with you anymore. Where like, man, the more that you do, whether you kill it or whether you fail, and frankly, we already know what's going to happen. You're going to fail more than you're going to kill it. That's just the reality of the world in anything. I don't care what your craft is, but like, you learn from every one of those at bats. You get a little bit better each time that, you know, you go through that. So I love that. I think that's amazing, and I think it's something that every one of our listeners can really take back to their teams. Michele, I'd love to jump into tools, the second pillar of tools. So you've already talked a little bit about some of like the partner solutions you've had. You've talked a little bit at a high level about some of the client engagements. Spending a minute or two kind of talking about, and I'll leave it to you for how you want to answer this, but like, how is Ujet, as you guys have built out the business and built out your customer portfolio, how have you guys had to think about which tools you were going to, you know, what the primary tools in your tech stack were going to look like for Ujet? And then you already mentioned you have to see a ton of client tech stacks. I'd love to just kind of hear you kind of talk about technology and tools and some of the ways that you guys are thinking about which primary solutions you're making your bets and your investments in the Ujet tech stack today.
Yeah, so I guess first I'll answer it from a kind of our technology and how we're servicing our customers' perspective and how we're looking at technology in that way. Um, and we've had a lot of different philosophies on this, to quite honest, in the past few years. And I think we're still iterating and still kind of adjusting as we see fit as we kind of move forward. But we've done a combination of some very strategic OEM white label type partnerships to kind of further the capabilities of our software, and then also we've developed, you know, some of our own in-house technology to complement our core tech stack. We've also done some acquisitions, and we're looking at that too. So it's kind of a combination of both. We look at what's kind of the fastest way to market, what's also the most competitive and brings the best technology forward, but also is very much in line with how we do things today. We are very different than a typical CCaaS software company. You know, some of our competitors, just in the way that they were built, are, I don't want to rain on anyone, you know, or
No,
anyone.
let's get it out there, Michele. No, I'm kidding.
But you know, it's, you know, their legacy. So it's kind of an old way of thinking about
Yeah,
how you
yeah,
answer
yeah.
a call, how you answer a chat. You know, we are very kind of forward thinking in that sense. So even something like skill-based routing. This is one of the things we actually resisted for the longest time. We didn't have it because we actually accomplished it in a very different way, a way that we think is better and smarter and all that good stuff. But it was hard for some of our, especially bigger customers, to receive. So, you know, some of that.
Because it was changing what they had always done. It was changing what the reporting had always looked like. It was changing what they thought they were chasing from a metrics management perspective, that type of stuff.
Correct. Yeah. And so from, when I first got here, especially, we were very much engineering. Our founder and CEO at the time was, he was a founder and he was an engineer by trade. So, he was very much, that's not the way we do things. That's the whole reason why we built it. And we resisted it for a very long time.
Yep.
And we still have that better and different way of doing it, but we all also are releasing that feature because we've also realized that we have to stay with our customer as they bridge that gap between what they've always known and where they want to go, and sometimes it's just too much to digest all at once. So we have to kind of keep pace with change, and not change in the way we see it, change in the way sometimes our customers also see it. So there's some nuance to some of the things that we do to complement our own tech stack, because we do now take all of those things into consideration, right? Not only what's best and what's next, but also where people are today, so that we're not kind of way out here. Yes, maybe superb and great, and the next gen thing, but the market or our customers are not ready for it. So we kind of balance all of those things when we think about our own tech stack. Um, as far as kind of our own internal processes and tools, we've for a small organization, I think we got into a habit because we were a just go type of mentality and culture, that all of our functional areas almost have different ways of doing things. So as part of our growth, we actually have a huge initiative right now to kind of synthesize what we're doing and really learn from each other. We're using a lot more AI internally than we've ever had before.
Are there
Uh,
any primary AI tools that you guys are sort of leveraging that you're able to share? Are these internal, AI prototypes that you guys have developed? What are you kind of seeing? Because there is just so much happening in the space. And I ask, and some of our guests say, they can't, they answer, some of them but like, what do you guys, is there something that you're using, or is there a handful of tools that our listeners could benefit from?
Yeah, we're looking at a few things right now, and we kind of are trying a few things right now. Some we have developed on our own, but we really lean into Google a lot. So the whole Google,
Awesome. Awesome. Michelle, us too at
stack.
CXC,
Yeah.
Gemini, and some of the easy
Oh
things
yeah.
that are sitting right inside of where you and I are literally already every damn day with emails and with our chats. Like, love it. Sorry, keep going.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So even just personally, now I use Notebook LM. I have a whole brief that runs in Gemini. It's a daily brief every morning. I get it, kind of synthesizes my day, where I left off. I put that into my notebook. It kind of, jams some things up. And so by time, 9 o'clock rolls around, I'm really starting, almost have done 3 hours worth of work.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah. Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
organized, and I know what's important, because that's the biggest thing too, when you have a lot going on and you are doing a lot of things, to understand what's important, what you need to do
Definitely.
today and
The
now
primary
versus
focus
memory.
areas. Yep.
Yeah. So I feel like, even just on a very personal note, tools like, Notebook LM or Gemini really do help, just to kind of stay organized. Also, as an organization, we use Google Meet. We've just gotten into the habit of, putting on those notes, those transcriptions, and I
Yep.
I, I just take all of them, I put them into my notebook. So this way I kind of have, again, a running tab of what's happened, what I need to focus on, really where I need to also lean into my team. Um,
Yep.
because it really helps kind of stay on track and keep the teams, the various functional areas within our organization focused on the big common goals that we have. So we have a few big things that we want to accomplish by the end of this year, by the end of next year, and it's going to take more than just my group, for example, to accomplish them. So we need to make sure that we're, have a synergy, but aren't spending, 3 hours a day in meetings.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, number one, I absolutely love that. You and I are very similar because, like, no, I've been doing something really, so two things. Number one, again, like I mentioned, CXC, we're in the same. We're built on Google as well, and then our CRM primarily is HubSpot. But what we've been doing lately is taking all of our meeting transcriptions. So not just, well, we've already been doing this for client working sessions for a while now, but internally we've been doing the same thing where I am starting to take weekly team meetings, dumping it into an aggregate doc, and then asking Gemini,
Hmm.
what did what did we talk about this week? What did I talk about this week to make sure that I'm actually back to what you talked about earlier? Got to know where the hell you're going. If you don't know if your leaders of your business don't know where you're going, how the hell is your team supposed to know where the hell they're supposed to go? So what am I doing and what am I talking about? Am I setting direction? Am I focused on the goals that our team already agreed upon, right? As the big strategic goals. So that's been super interesting because you can see really quick whether you are or you aren't. And then number two, this is so easy, guys, and I don't know why people don't realize it. I'm just looking for the patterns of positive sentiment points. What are the good things that keep coming up? Okay, that's good. That means if we're all agreeing and think that this stuff is all good and there's positive sentiment in these areas, good. That means we're doing stuff. And then I'm looking at the negative stuff, and the negative stuff might not be nothing bad, but it might what in our small business, for example, at CXC, it's the constant punting because we don't have unlimited resources. So then you see on the negative side, you see all of these other strategic goals or calls to action that almost keep getting deprioritized. Now that drives me crazy because I'm like, oh, why can't we just? But it's you start thinking about it this way, guys, where you take all of the information that you already got on your freaking laptop every single day, and then you start to ask for summaries or focused overviews, or then you start and then take this now to a grander scale. Depending on what type of business you're working with, we've also had the pleasure of doing some interesting client engagements where, let's say you got a company that has 250 inside salespeople, and let's say that you can get them really good at the process of grabbing every transcription or making sure that there's general, and then you start to do that same type of sentiment analysis and or just aggregate crunching across 250 salespeople's conversations. Now you're starting to get a really good sense for like the heartbeat or the pulse of the customer, but then you're also oftentimes you're seeing the EX stuff inside of it too, Michele, right? You're so it's like I love it. I love that you guys are doing the same thing.
Well, it's funny that you just mentioned that too, because, we don't have a very large sales team, but, even with doing some of this AI stuff, I'll just call it, and kind of analyzing things from a different lens, we've been able to uncover that, hey, it's not just always all about price, right? I don't know about your sales team. Our sales
Yeah,
team's always like, how much can we discount? And it's like, it's actually not necessarily price all the time. It's perceived value. It's, maybe making something that seems very complicated, distill it down so it's simple. There's all this hidden nuance that we've also started to uncover so that we can go in more prepared and really speaking to what our customer wants to hear about, as opposed to what we want to talk about, right?
I love that. And then leading with value first, leading with here's what the market is seeing, feeling. Here's what our other clients are doing. Here, I love it. Michele, you hit on process, but I want to hear you kind of dive into the third pillar process in more depth. So like actually, let me ask this question differently before you even get to Ujet. How, because you had an interesting background before Ujet with seeing all this stuff and basically building out a boutique, contact center. How have you thought about how you wrangle information, process, common questions with your team and or customers? How have you kind of built your Michele living playbook over your career? Or has there been some things that you've done with building your personal living playbook as a leader? And then how is that sort of related to what you've deployed with your team at UJET?
That's a great question. I'll answer it this way. I like doing the things I like. I don't like doing the things I don't like. So
Yeah,
I
good for
try to do
you,
the
girl.
things I like. I'm also better at the things I like, funny enough. So I always try to do the things that I like every day and that I know that I'm good at. And I leverage my team or technology to do all of that other stuff as much as I possibly can. And so I try to take some time. I have taken a lot of time kind of building out the things that I don't like so that I can have them automated or train someone else to do it, or and trust that person or trust that process, right? One of the things that is just not very fun for me, because I like once we have a partner and we're excited and we're like, yeah, what can we do? I like, bringing up the technology and then, convincing my product and engineering team to go build it. And
Yeah,
then,
right.
I like doing all that stuff. I don't like necessarily finding the partner, right? It's a lot of telling my story, listening to theirs, asking the same questions, all that kind of stuff. So I've actually built kind of along with my now boss Baker, who's our chief business officer, kind of a playbook to that we automate. We built it through AI, but we took kind of all of the things we've always ever done, and now I can actually run a prospect partner through that, and it gives me 90% of what I would have had to probably spend 2 to 3 weeks uncovering, unearthing with meetings and all of that kind of stuff.
What was it, Michelle? Do you mind me asking? Is it a survey? Is it an assessment? Is it an ingestion tool? What was it that is able to give you those variables without having to do the damn time and the work and the energy of it all?
Well, it's honestly a very wonderfully crafted prompt. It's very long and it's kind of and it's very structured in a way where if Gemini can't find it, it calls out, hey, I can't find it. It's a privately held company. I don't know how many employees they have, like for example.
Interesting.
Um,
Interesting.
but
Okay.
it will kind of give me the lay of the land of, maybe where they are in terms of, they just got their Series A, or they just launched this, any kind of those, newsworthy items, and
Sure.
also then
Sure.
kind of summarize,
Signal. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like kind of what their core, pitch is, where they are in the market, how many customers maybe they have, what their target is, maybe any recent wins, or what maybe some of their executives have done before. So maybe their experience, where they're
Yep.
coming
Yep.
from.
Yep.
There's a lot that you can kind of glean, with running some of these prompts, and so it not only we've actually got it to the point where not only does it kind of deliver all this information, we have a kind of a rating tool that we've kind of
Nice.
so it'll kind of say,
Nice.
this is
You
something worth going for, nah, maybe not, or you
love
might
it.
want to consider these things.
Love it. So you're doing literally lead scoring or lead qualification, whether it's on partner, whether it's on client as well. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Love it.
Fact.
Awesome. Yep.
So that's been awesome because then we don't have to waste that time, or we know where we need to focus on, right? So hey, this is a company that's is building out their own CCaaS, so we want to go in there with that. It's helpful to know that when you're going in, right?
Big
So
time.
it's just been really such a time saver, and it's also allowed us to focus on the right things, uh, rather than just the groundwork.
I love that, and I got to be honest with you. Something that we've been doing ourselves at CXC, which is like we've had the blessing and the fortune of building this customer focused business community, the CX Nation, and we've got 15,000 people over the years we put, but and obviously for many of the folks in our community, Michelle, most of them are all about what me and you are doing right now. They're even aware of CXC because they know that we capture conversations and we chronicle how some of the best and the brightest are thinking about CX, EX, UX, all that fun stuff. Um, from as we've built the business over the last 5 years, and many of you already know my story. I built it backwards. The podcast I started first when I still had my last full-time day job. But as we built the business over the last 5 years and we started to really develop our primary offerings, we have hit our stride because of doing exactly what you just said. We don't focus on the 15,000 every month. It's finding like the 5 or the 10
Yeah.
business executives that have these problems or have these wants and desires around all the things that you can do around, making incredible customer experiences or employee experiences. So love it. Like focusing on the quality, not the quantity. And then once you get good at understanding your ICP, man, it becomes really easy, or I think anyway, whether it's lead scoring or lead qualification or whatever the hell you're doing, depending on your scale, it becomes pretty easy to very quickly see, yeah, this one right here, we got to, no, we'll spend years trying to build a relationship with this person versus, nope, these ones, like, let them go. Hopefully they like our, so I love it. And it's for our listeners, that's something to think about where I know it's easier said than done. And then for many of us, right, it takes a while to find your product market fit. If it takes a while to find product market fit, it takes even longer to kind of figure out, wait a minute, this is the cut of ICP that gets me to those transactions. So but I love it. I love that you guys are already way ahead on some of that. Well, before we jump off process, if you had like one piece of advice for all of our listeners, what would be like the one thing that you would urge or push everybody as it relates to sort of managing their team's living playbook? Will be like the one thing that you would say is something that minimally on a weekly basis or a monthly basis that you got to do to make sure? Because I heard you say something about controlling and monitoring. You said whether it's giving it to one of your A players or whether it's having, another side. What would be like the one thing that you would suggest for people to really kind of keep their playbooks and their knowledge and their general process that's in a healthy spot as their business grows and scales?
So this is maybe going to sound like a contradiction, but I'll say it's more of like this is just the intricacy of the dance that you do when you're trying to do a lot. And certainly I think it's true for a startup. So earlier I said just go, right? Just get started. You just got to, take action. And that's true. I stand by that. But I also think once you have a team built out and you start to say, hey, this is the direction I want to go down, whether it's with a partner or with a customer or whatever it is you're doing, I think it's important to remember and be really thorough and go deep once you're there. So don't cut corners. And you had mentioned earlier about the pilot and that kind of uh, I guess, mindset from someone who's coming in and being very prepared with a military background.
Yep.
It's funny enough, I listened to a podcast by Mark Devine, who was a Navy SEAL, and he has
Okay.
some just great
Yeah.
nuggets that he, for life and professionally and all the above. But he always says that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So I think about that often
I like
because
that.
it's easy to say, okay, yeah, we're doing that and it's humming and I could just set it and forget it. I would just say, once you hone in on where you're going, you're like, okay, this is a path I want to go down. This is a partner I want to work with. This is a business idea I want to, follow through on. Go deep with it, because when you need to call on your bench, whether that's your process or your technology or the people that you have around you, you need to make sure it's fully flushed out and that you've kind of uncovered any of that kind of rocky road and you've smoothed it out so that it's repeatable and truly scalable the next time you want to go use it.
I love that. That's awesome, Michelle. That's spot on. Awesome, awesome golden nugget right there. Let's jump into the fourth and final pillar of feedback. I'd love to. So, like this one, there's a few different ways that you can answer this one, but you've got clients, you've got your team, and you've got partners and all these strategic partners. How? Just spend a minute or two, kind of talking about in your role today, and as you and your leadership team at Ujet have built the business. How do you kind of think about feedback of whether it's across your customers, your employees, or your partners? I guess what are some of like the main things that you focus on, or what are some of the main things that you mandate to make sure that you're getting that regular feedback from all of those super, super important relevant parties that make all this stuff come together?
Yeah, so we have some kind of standard things that we do. We have kind of quarterly, we call them CABs, customer advisory boards. So it's, customers that we kind of walk through, hey, here's what we're thinking from a product perspective, from a go-to-market perspective, from pricing. They're our first go-to when we're floating a new idea. We also take that as an opportunity to get very candid feedback about, whether it's features or how we're working with them, how implementation went, how, everything. So nothing's kind of off the table there. I think that's really important and really helps us to drive a lot of our roadmap from a product perspective, certainly. We also do something similar, and we're putting more rigor around this because right now it's a little loose with partners. So I'd say those are the two big areas where we have kind of a practice, if you will, in place for gathering feedback. But we also are doing this more and more with just kind of everyday, whether it's a pitch, a sales call, a um, support ticket, all of that stuff where we're looking for feedback where we're not explicitly soliciting it, right? So it could just be even in a tone.
Like polling it, or like presenting it to a larger base and polling it like that.
Um, Not so much. It's more of kind of like aggregating what we have, right? So we might have gotten kind of whether it's a support ticket here, or we have all these kind of recorded conversations there, kind of
Sure.
what
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about before, with whether it's sentiment or specific issues that are coming up on, or not issues, but topics that'll come up on a
Okay. Yep.
call, and kind of aggregating that to better understand again where we want to focus and where not only where we want to focus, but where the market's going. And this is where I also still leverage a lot of these professional networks and folks like yourself. And, I was just at HubSpot's event at Inbound.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah.
earlier this month. That was
Yep.
awesome. A lot of awesome nuggets there. So it's a way to kind of see like, hey, what are we doing? Where's the market going? Where's the industry going? And pulling that all together and saying, okay, what makes the right next move for us as an organization? Out of that actually has come, we're doing some different things with pricing that we haven't quite launched yet, but
Okay.
it would be kind of revolutionary. This is one of those things where I'm saying, I'm not sure if like I think this is where we're going, but I don't know if
Yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
there
Yeah.
yet.
Right, right.
We've kind of started a new, I just built out a customer rewards program. Again, a different take on um, kind of pricing in general, which is, one of the things we heard from our customers is that they want to do these things. They have a big AI project that they want to do. They have, agent assist type features they want to be able to deploy. They want to do
Yep.
all these things, but it takes time, it takes money. They don't know what to do first. So we kind of created a strategy where we can co-invest with
Love
our
it. Love it.
customers.
That's
Um,
brilliant.
so it's all of those things.
And you're right, Michelle, like, because like the want and the desire and the need is there. And then let's call it what it is. There was a few weeks ago. So this might be dated, but there was a business insider article that talked about like there's still like 70% of corporate America can't actually explain how AI is going to impact their business or their subject matter expert role.
Mhm.
That's effing crazy, guys. Like, but it speaks volumes to what you just said, where the want, the need, the desire, the yearning for information or fucking guidance, leadership, lead me to the promised land is there. But then people going back to just taking action, just go and just like you gotta people having a source that they can go to see what paths are there is the start. Meaning, like you don't need to know how to do the whole damn plan, but like
Correct.
if somebody can help with like, all right, look, you're using these three tools. Tool number one, you've got those two features that are sitting there inside of your paid plan that you haven't tapped. Okay, tool number two, same thing. There's that one feature right there that you haven't tapped, you're paying for it. Solution number three, okay, and then but it's easy for us to say this stuff, but someone's got a project management. They have to set it up. Then you have to deal with integrations. Then you have to deal with utilization and training, making sure humans know how the hell to use it. And is it even working? Right? That's the other part. Is it even working, or is it working the way that you thought it would? So I love that. That's amazing.
I'll tell you, just really quick. I approach all of this kind of stuff in the same way, in that it's what we talked about earlier. It's the end. Like if you have a clear vision of what you want, where you want, what your end state is, the end goal, that vision, that it becomes so much easier to determine what path you go down and what decisions you make. Because I can't tell you how many even customers, I do feel like actually that's probably our biggest problem, if you want to call it that, from a sales perspective, is helping a customer actually distill what they want to do. Like, what is success?
yeah.
What is so scary about this new thing,
Yep.
or what is exciting about it? Like it, and all things are valid answers, right? I can't tell you how many customers come to us and say, oh, well, we need a virtual agent. Well, okay, well, why? Oh, well, we want to deflect calls. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Right.
why? Like,
Yeah.
there's a reason,
Yep.
right? Well, because the contact center is too expensive, or we have a 200% attrition rate, and it takes 4 weeks to train a new representative. Like all of that stuff actually matters, because what you then build and what the solution actually is could be very different. Maybe you don't even need a virtual agent at all. Maybe you need some AI to help with training and onboarding, or there's so many things and so many different directions it can go. But it's important to know what the end results that you're trying to reach, because all those questions become clear once you can ask the questions and you find out what's important. Then you can create a solid plan to move forward.
I love it. I love it. Well said, Michelle. Michelle, this has been absolutely fantastic. Before we wind down today's episode, is there anything that you want to shout out or anything that you want to call out? Anything that's events that are coming up from Ujet? You just mentioned Inbound, new product features, things that you guys are doing at Ujet that you want the CX Station to know about. And then, sorry, and then where can people get in touch with you and your team?
So you can reach out to me. I'm Michele, Michele, 1L at ujet.cx. And I don't know if you're going to include my contact information. I'm happy to share it with whoever wants it. But our website too is a great resource. We're doing a lot with our website, so it'll continue to change over the next few weeks. So I encourage everyone to check it out and then keep checking it out because it'll be full of new stuff probably every time you go there. But we will also be at CCW, and I will personally be at CCW in Nashville in
Oh,
October.
nice.
So
Okay.
if you're there, I would love to meet up.
Michele, you guys were at CCW Las Vegas just a month or two ago?
We
Were you?
were, yes.
Then we missed each other then. We missed each
Oh
other.
man.
So, okay. So CCW, awesome event. Many of our listeners obviously know it. And then great place to meet people like Michele. Great place to meet awesome solutions and awesome potential future partners like Ujet. So that's fantastic. Michele, well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the CX Chronicles podcast. I'll look forward to keeping in touch with you, and I look forward to seeing what Ujet does in the future.
Awesome. This was fun. Thank you.
Be sure to check out the CXC website. And as always, find us on any of your favorite podcast players, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and more.